So I know everybody knows me as the guy that had the glass rant, but what was the whole deal with the glass rant, and why is it so important that the glass is actually gone? Because I actually think this is more than just a funny little rant. It wasn't even intended as a funny little rant. At one point, there was leaked scrimmages for Overwatch League prior to the season of 2023, and many of those scrimmages showed Colosseo as part of the scrim map rotation. And during these scrimmages, it was relatively routine almost every single time for there to be neutral stalemates in this choke for 30, 45, 60, 90 seconds, sometimes even 2 minutes of just shuffling back and forth, essentially waiting for your Sojourner or somebody to get a one-shot. There's really no rotation that you could do, not any rotations that were worth the risk anyway, and most of the flanks are extremely difficult to take because of the glass. And I think that's kind of why that was such a frustrating thing for me to watch. It was not just watching bronze, silver, and gold players frustrated at this choke, but then watching pro players struggle with the exact same problems. And thus, my frustration at having seen that team fight happen a million times over, the rant was born.
I hate this map so much! Come on, man, like, please, remove the glass! Remove it! Get rid of it! Stop delaying! Remove the glass! Remove the glass! Remove the glass! Remove the glass! Please, I'm so tired of sitting here with these stupid neutral stalemates that just go on and on for hours and hours. Nobody enjoys this. Stop. Nobody wants to see your stupid Spartan face. Get rid of the glass so that we can actually have a flanker, an angler, or Winston's can maybe soft diver. We can take it. Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this. Get rid of it. Please. It's so frustrating. It's been here for forever. And the same thing happens in freaking ranked and gold games. They don't know how to play this. And gold games we have stalemates here. When the gold players don't know what to do and the Overwatch League players don't know what to do, there's a common theme. It's the map, right? It's the map.
You know, memes aside, this is a pretty important lesson about map design. We don't talk as much about map design on my channel. We talk mostly about hero design, but map design is almost as important, if not just as important. And one of the big no-nos of map design, especially in a team-based first-person shooter, is chokes. At least you have to use chokes selectively and appropriately. The problem with chokes is that it allows people to shoot from multiple different angles converging on one location. So it makes it extremely difficult for the person trying to exit that choke to find any sort of cover or even to be able to return fire. Sometimes chokes can be useful for giving defenders advantage. If we want the defenders to have an advantage, then there needs to be some sort of a choke point or high ground or cover that allows them to converge fire in approximately one location. But as we've learned with 2CP, having an overwhelming defender's advantage is not a good thing for the game. Now you could argue that 2CP might be better in 5v5, but I'd argue that a choke-oriented, defense-oriented game mode is still problematic, and that's exactly why the Colosseo glass was bad. Not only was it defenders-oriented, but it was defenders-oriented mirrored, which meant that really neither side was motivated to take any sort of space at all. In fact, there wasn't even any sort of objective distraction. At least with 2CP, you could get a flanker through and pressure the point and make them fall back. You couldn't even do that with Colosseo. So what can we learn from this to make sure that we don't make the same mistakes again? It's not that we should never have chokes. I think, again, some sort of defender's advantage is what adds flavor and spice and what makes things interesting. But if we're ever going to do a choke-oriented map again, there has to be some level of dynamics of how you approach that choke. There has to be options that are at least worth the risk. With the glass removed now, if you've been watching any of the Pro OWCS, some of the stuff for the World Cup, there's been a lot more rotations in playing on this side of the map. People have been more willing to take the risk to take an angle like so on either side because the risk isn't as high and there's an actual reward for it. You can hold the choke, you can still abuse this choke if you'd like to, but you might miss out on a more proactive space in the meantime. And that should be the choice you have to make. You can leverage your defender's advantage, but the enemy team might find a way to rotate around it. And that's why maps like 2CP, at least even in their old state in 5v5, really will never and should never come back. Maps like Paris, Temple of Anubis, even Volsky, which was my personal favorite, had way too many problematic chokes that rewarded defenders' advantage too far much. And so if we were ever to see 2CP come back, we would probably need to widen or expand those chokes. But this isn't just a 2CP problem. If you've ever watched Circuit Royale, you might be familiar with that has these absurdly long sightlines. It also has a choke problem. And again, the same problem that there isn't really any other reasonable option available for 95% of the player cast. A map where a character like Tracer or Sombra can't even get behind is probably a problematic map. Now I want to address some of the criticisms. I've seen a couple of Reddit posts, a couple of Blizzard forum posts about the Colosseo rant about being pro players being unwilling to adapt or adjust, and we just want all maps to feel exactly the same. Let's address the first point. This is absolutely something that people have tried to adapt it and adjust. In fact, I was a part of the pro team that had the first adaptations and adjustments in the professional Overwatch scene. Back in 2022, as part of the London Spitfire, we really introduced the whole concept of flipping the map here with a Reinhardt composition. We'd roll out from spawn, go all the way to the enemy team's high ground, and poke them out from high ground. I even spent a lot of time in the custom games trying to find out if you could May wall the floor here and make the jump up onto the little window there. Plot twist, you can, but it's really, really difficult to. Long story short, there's been many attempts at, some successful and some not successful, at actually making this map first fight feel better, finding creative ways to approach this fight. There was lots of attempts to adapt. They just didn't work. It just wasn't good enough. You can reinvent the wheel so many times, but sometimes the wheel is just the best design. And unfortunately, if that's the best strategy and the best strategy is boring, then it's not the strategy's fault, it's the map. The second criticism is that it's okay to have maps that have certain strengths and weaknesses, and I see this kind of argument echoed in hero design all the time, and I actually do agree with this for the most part. I think that if every character had the same kit and behaved in the same dynamic, balanced, medium 50-50-50 way, it'd be like playing a racing game where you choose your racer, but all of them have the same speed, the same control, the same acceleration, and the same tankiness, and so what's the point of choosing any of the racer other than cosmetics? But everything in moderation, everything has to have some sort of nuance. To say that, oh, we should let Reinhardt one shot with his hammer, but give him 100 HP. That makes balanced sense to me, because it's balanced, right? Well, yeah, but it's not fun. We should let Widowmaker one shot, but it does 500 damage if she one shots, but just make her have that 50 HP. Or we should let tanks do literally 0 damage and give them 6,000 HP and CC immunity. I mean, yeah, again, is that balanced? Maybe, but again, is that fun? There has to be some sort of dynamics and nuance in how it's done. It's okay to have a map that favors brawl. It's okay to have a map that has chokes that favor snipers. But when there are literally no other options available, that's when you start to have problems. You see, that's the difference between good design and bad design. Good design isn't about balance. Bad design isn't just about balance. It's about reducing the options for other strategies to be even viable. When you're playing Colosseo first fight, the only thing you could do was shoot through the choke. There was no other option available. So it's not that, oh, well, it's okay to have a choke-oriented map. Yes, but only if there are options that are at least foreseeably, conceivably possible. If they're not, then it's a poorly designed map. Anyway, I hope that this made sense to you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I've only played this map a few times. I've been really busy this weekend, but honestly, the few times I have played it have just felt unbelievably better. And even watching it from a professional level being played now is actually like remarkably interesting and fun to watch now. So 100% was the right play. And I also want to shout out the developers as well for expanding this side of the map. I actually, from what I've heard, it wasn't even the current Overwatch 2 map designer who designed this map. So for all the grief that they deserve for designing this map in the first place, I don't even think it was the current team that did it. So anyway, enjoy this map. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.